After back-to-back ugly losses for the Philadelphia Eagles, I need to gauge the temperature of this fan base right now. So I want to hear from you in the comments section your level of panic on a scale of 1 to 100 with the Birds right now. 1, still very confident. 100, very, very concerned. Let me know, and let's talk through it here on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. This is Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and despite the circumstances, the opponent losing to the Dallas Cowboys like that on the heels of how Philadelphia lost to San Francisco last week, I hope you're all having a good Monday, or at least doing as well as you can be. I do want to start off on a positive note, and I don't know if this is me being in the minority of this fan base right now, or if this is an unpopular opinion, but I am still a believer in the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Birds are a good team that right now is playing some awful football that's really difficult to watch. And this is also an organization and a football unit that is simply not executing. It's a coaching staff that's been subpar, but it's also a roster with star players right now that are not playing like star players. And when you consider the opponents that the Philadelphia Eagles have had to play over the last 4 games, they're just limping right now in the midst of this December stretch, looking ahead at this potential playoff run, and right now the Eagles just look to be a banged-up football team. And the eye test tells you everything that you need to know about where the Eagles are at right now. They're not playing good football. They're not coaching well. The players are not stepping up. And really, from top to bottom, this has been an organizational failure over the last 2 games, and the heroics of some of those shocking and thrilling wins against the Commanders, against the Cowboys previously, against the Chiefs, against the Bills, kind of masked some of the issues that the Eagles have been having all throughout the year. So right now, Philadelphia looks like a slow, tired, worn-down team. On the bright side, though, I think it is good for the Eagles to hit this rough patch right now and not at the end of the year. They're going to have an opportunity to right the ship, because the Eagles on this schedule are going to end with the Giants, Arizona Cardinals, and the New York Giants. So when they're going through this rough patch right now, and they're playing some elite teams in the NFL who are white hot in the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, you don't bring your A game and you look to be beat up and you don't execute, you turn the football over, you're not getting after the opposing quarterback, you can't get off the field on 3rd downs, you were awful in the red zone at giving up touchdowns against the opponent. Games are going to play out like this, and you are going to get dominated. But Philadelphia does have an opportunity to get their confidence back up and get the momentum back on their side with the win against Seattle, hopefully a get-right game, and then you round out against a couple of bad football teams in the Giants twice and the Arizona Cardinals. And maybe you're able to recapture that momentum, recapture that confidence, and get back in rhythm against those bad teams just in time for the playoffs. But this right here is a true gauntlet for the Philadelphia Eagles. And yes, I understand that when you make it to the Super Bowl, when you were tied with the Chiefs for the best record in the NFL, and you had the number 1 seed in the NFC, the scheduling gods are not going to be on your side. But my goodness, they did not do Philadelphia any favors at all. You come out of the bye, you go on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. Emotional game, you have to come back from 10 at halftime, and you get the dub over the team that beat you in the Super Bowl back in February. And then you come home against the Buffalo Bills. By the way, raining in that game. It's raining at home against Buffalo. You have to come back from 10 at recess, and then you win in overtime. You take on a 49ers team that wants to exact revenge from what happened in the NFC Championship game. They played on Thanksgiving. They had a mini bye. You lose that, you get beat up in that game. You got out-physicaled as well, and then you play a hot Dallas Cowboys team at home, and Dallas has now won 15 straight games at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, and they had extra rest. And now you have to go on the road against the Seahawks organization that you have not beaten since 2008. For the first time under Pete Carroll, they have lost 4 consecutive games. They are fighting for their playoff lives. and you have to go across the country to a hostile environment against a desperate team. And right now, you are not playing good football at all. Again, another positive spin here on this Monday is that the Eagles still control their own destiny. There's no doubt that Philadelphia can win out here and still get the number 1 seed and get home field advantage in the NFC. But when you look at the NFC playoff picture right now, my goodness, how quickly things have changed in this conference over the span of a week, overnight, and going back to that Niners game. So in the midst here of a couple of games and over a couple of hours, the Philadelphia Eagles have gone from being the top dog in the NFC a couple of weeks ago, 10-1, number 1 seed, and after 2 consecutive losses against San Francisco and against Dallas, Philadelphia now drops down to 5th. If the season were to end today, they would have to go on the road to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card round of the playoffs. Now, I still think that Philadelphia is going to get the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. As we've outlined, the Cowboys' remaining schedule is very, very difficult. On the road against Buffalo, on the road against Miami, Lions at home, Commanders on the road. Eagles' schedule gets a little bit more easier. Niners' schedule somewhat easy. So I think it's going to either be the Niners in the 1 seed or the Eagles in the 1 seed, and then whichever team doesn't get that 1 seed, they're in the 2 seed. But right now, Philadelphia dropping all the way to that 5th spot. How quickly things can change in the National Football League. And pressing question number 1 for this team, is the defense going to be able to turn it around over the last month? Or is this who this Eagles team is? And do the Philadelphia Eagles have the worst defense in the NFL? Right now, they're playing like that. These numbers are harrowing. These numbers are disgusting. These numbers are scary. Points per game, 28th. Points per drive, 29th. Yards per game, 22nd. Turnovers forced, 21st. Not ideal when you're also coughing the football up a lot like the Eagles did last night. Passing touchdowns allowed, second to worst in the NFL. First downs by penalties, 26th. So they're getting penalized a lot as well, on top of not forcing a lot of turnovers and not getting off the field in the red zone or on third downs. Third down defense, ranked last. Red zone defense, ranked 30th. And that's not it. The defensive struggles continue to be real. For Nick Sirianni, Sean Desai, and Howie Roseman, the Eagles have allowed 30-plus points in 3 straight games for the first time since Chip Kelly's final season, when he didn't even make it to the end of the year. Pat Shurmur had to be the interim head coach. The last 3 games, the Eagles have given up 61% of their third downs. And in the red zone, it is even worse, giving up touchdowns on red zone trips at a 92% clip. I said this last night during the watch party. Appreciate everybody who tuned in and all of the new subscribers to the channel. But remember when Andy Reid, toward the tail end of his tenure in Philadelphia, hired Juan Castillo, a longtime offensive line coach, to be the Eagles' defensive coordinator? Those defenses were so bad, so difficult to watch, to the point it made your eyes basically bleed. And right now, it feels like we are watching a Juan Castillo defense all over again. That's not good for Sean Desai, who he was a hire that I liked. Vic Fangio disciple, but right now he looks to be completely overmatched. And let's give Sean Desai some credit here. On the road against Washington earlier this year, made some good in-game adjustments. You pitched a second-half shutout against the Kansas City Chiefs. In the second half against the Buffalo Bills, I thought Sean Desai made some good in-game adjustments. The Eagles shut down the Miami Dolphins, number 1 rated offense, a couple of weeks before the bye. He has had some good moments. But where this defense is trending right now is not good. And these Sean Desai trends are not a positive either. Now, back in 2021, he was the Bears' defensive play caller and the defensive coordinator. That was the only other season in which Sean Desai called plays for a defense. And the Bears that year, not a good team, 22nd in points per game. He was the associate head coach and not the defensive coordinator with Seattle, but had some of his fingerprints on that Seattle defense last year. And Seattle was 25th in points per game. And let's be real, This is an Eagles team that does have a lot of talent. This defensive line is pretty deep. Darius Slay, James Bradbury, they've aged a little bit before our eyes. This linebacking core is not good. They've had a lot of injuries in that secondary, a lot of injuries at safety. We'll see what happens with Reed Blankenship going into concussion protocol. But this year, it really is just unacceptable. The Eagles are 28th in points per game this year. Now, the offense isn't doing the defense many favors. And as we're about to get to coming up around the corner, we're going to take a look at those offensive numbers because Jalen Hurts has not been good enough. Nick Sirianni with his play design, play calling, with the game planning has been subpar. And Brian Johnson has struggled a little bit, but this is really an overall coaching failure here from Sirianni to Brian Johnson to Sean Desai, and Sirianni did hire both of those coordinators. Eagles defensive snaps for 7 weeks, 433 total. That was good for 61.9 snaps per game. Last 6 weeks, 462 total. They are playing about 15 more snaps per game over the last 6 weeks as compared to the first 7 weeks. And that plays into this team looking like a tired football team right now. Now, I want you to sound off again if you think the Eagles can turn the ship around and you think that they are a better football team than what they've put on tape the last couple of weeks. I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you think this Eagles team is fraudulent, then I want you to comment why. What's not fraudulent? Factor meals. And you can get 50% off using the code EaglesChat50. So the deal that we have to offer for you, not fraudulent either. During this bustling holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you up on jam-packed days. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, and they can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals that are delivered straight to your door. You will save time and you'll stay on track with your healthy lifestyle, all while tackling your holiday to-dos. I ran a half marathon on Friday. My running streak is at 208 days, and I want to be able to fuel up with healthy meals that keep me feeling good with how much I'm working, but also I need to be able to save time with how much I'm working and how much I'm training. Treat yourself to high-quality, delicious meals over the holidays, and you can choose from 35-plus chef-created meals every week that support a healthy lifestyle. So 50% off, factormeals.com/EaglesChat50. Sign up today. They only take a couple of minutes to heat up, delivered straight to your door, fresh, never frozen. So going to the Philadelphia Eagles offense here. No offensive touchdowns against the Dallas Cowboys. It is the first time that this has happened under head coach Nick Sirianni since he was hired in 2021. And the fumbles for Philadelphia were certainly costly against Dallas. A great job by Dan Quinn's unit. They were feasting and getting after the football, and because of that, they punched it out of the grasp of Jalen Hurts. They stripped A.J. Brown. They took it away from Devontae Smith. The Philadelphia Eagles had 3 giveaways in plus territory. And when you're turning the football over in plus territory, what happens? Takes away opportunities for you to put points on the scoreboard, change the momentum of a game. But when you fumble it like you did against Dallas, that's points off the scoreboard. When you can't capitalize in the red zone, like Philadelphia did not do against San Francisco on the first 2 drives, it changes the outcome of the game drastically. If the Eagles go up 10-0 or 14-0 against San Francisco last week, we're talking about a different game. And if the Eagles don't turn it over against the Dallas Cowboys 3 times in plus territory, we're talking about potentially a different game. So this is why I kind of look at this as a glass half full positivity approach, because if Philadelphia is able to shore up some of the mistakes that they've made that can change the outcome of the game, they can right the ship and get on track. The Eagles star players right now are not playing like star players. It's not as if Jalen Hurts has been bad, but he hasn't played up to his level of ability the last 2 weeks. But A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, you have to play better. Devontae Smith is one of the top wide receivers in the game. And he's dropping footballs, he's fumbling it away, and he's not making routine and spectacular plays like we've become accustomed to seeing him doing. A.J. Brown on that sideline throw from Jalen Hurts. That gets you inside the 10, inside the 5-yard line. It's right on his hip. He drops it. And he got dominated last night by Stephon Gilmore, who's an older player. Now, there are things that the Eagles can be doing a little bit more, running the football a little bit more, running a little bit more pistol sets because the RPO is not working, running some more crossing routes for A.J. Brown because he's so good on crossers across the middle of the field. So again, this is a coaching failure, but this is also star players, highly paid players, just not playing up to their standard, and not playing up to their standard against a Dallas team, against a San Francisco team that came in looking like the feistier team, the more aggressive team, the more physical team, and the team that wanted it more. And the lack of effort from Philadelphia has been very disappointing because that has not been an issue with this football team under Sirianni and under Jalen Hurts. Now, the Eagles' offense in 2023, you look at some of the numbers here, it's not all bad. And this is why when people say, fire Brian Johnson, it's a little bit of an overreaction. And Nick Sirianni does have a lot of his fingerprints and a lot of his offensive philosophies and identities sprinkled on the game plan, as well as the play calling and the play design. I don't know why the Eagles don't run as much pre-snap motion. They should do a little bit more of it. I don't know why they're not running more pistol. I don't know why they're not running more crossing routes for A.J. Brown. But the overall numbers are not all that bad, and this is after Philadelphia did not score a touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys. Points per game, 6th. Points per drive, 4th. Yards per game, 8th. First downs, 3rd. Third down offense, 3rd. Red zone offense, 10th. Turnovers, not good, 18th. But no touchdowns against Dallas, no touchdowns until the third quarter against the San Francisco 49ers. With this amount of offensive firepower, it is kind of excusable for Philadelphia to be this bad over the last couple of weeks. And over the last few weeks, we've been talking about this. It just hasn't been sustainable, and it wasn't sustainable to come back from large deficits like the Eagles have had to do. And their point differential is very, very concerning. Their point differential last year at this point as compared to this year was well over double as compared to what it is here in 2023. And at some point, the Eagles playing with fire was going to catch up with them, and they weren't going to be able to mount these great comebacks and win these thrilling games, especially when you're going up against some really bona fide Super Bowl contenders in San Francisco as well as Dallas. And the last 2 weeks, that leaky, inconsistent play has caught up to Philadelphia. What's also crazy with this offensive arsenal and talent is that the Eagles have not scored a touchdown before halftime since the Bills game. Jalen Hurts has not thrown a first half touchdown in the last 5 games. It's more than a month sample size. And the Eagles have trailed by at least a touchdown at halftime the last 4 games. You are not going to win consistently in this league, having to consistently come from behind. That's why when you look at the records of teams that trail at halftime, it so often skews to them losing games, right? Because coming back in this league is very arduous. It's very difficult. And what's wild is that the Eagles were making it easy. Jalen Hurts has to play better. The Eagles cannot win when he's playing pedestrian football. And against San Francisco, against Dallas, Jalen Hurts has played like a pedestrian quarterback. He's also turning the football over a lot. He's been Jekyll and Hyde. And as we shift gears to the most quarterback turnovers this year, Jalen Hurts has 15 of them. That's 4th in the NFL. He had 8 turnovers all of last year. So while he's done a better job of progressing and making strides in the pocket, and he's become a better quarterback into throwing the football at moments this year, the turnovers have held this team back, and that's why after the game, he said, it starts with me. I have to play better, and Jalen Hurts does have to play better because after that Buffalo game, we're talking about him as an MVP candidate, and now he's slipping down that MVP leaderboard because Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson, they continue to get big wins, they continue to play better, and the Eagles are flatlining and declining right now. 10-3 right now, 4 games left. What will the Eagles' record be? Can they still get to 14 wins this year? Or are they going to get to 13? I'm going 13. You let me know down in the comment section. We'll be live on Eagles Now tomorrow on Tuesday. Appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Still have confidence in this football team, but you let me know what you're thinking down below.